on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand, sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
What happened to that kind of music, Jack? I mean, upbeat, fun. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just fun songs. I miss those. Welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. This is our Wednesday edition. First of all, let me give a shout out. I don't give a shout out enough to the Zodiac audience that joins us, whether we go live there or we go, tape there. And of course, check out our Roku channel. You got to do that. If you have Roku TV, all you got to do is channel search it.
Well, Matt, you want them to go off what they're on now, from listening to us now to go off this channel to another channel to listen to us right now. I mean, how do you think the people in charge of this channel are going to feel that you're knocking their ratings down by, telling the viewers to leave them and go on another channel? I don't get it.
This is the Roku channel. I mean, we're on YouTube too.
Okay, but they're on it already.
Well, it's true, but we're also on YouTube. So I want them to know to go to Roku to see us on the big screen. I mean, who wouldn't want to see Jack Hirsch on the big screen? I don't know anybody that would want to do that. So SeatGeek again, and it says promo code when you go in, and that's promo code when you go out, and you get fantastic deals. Jack, it's that time, in between the Super Bowl. Football's kind of dying out, but we got the Pro Bowl coming up. I mean, the Pro Bowl, you're going to have podcasters that are going to be sitting there and saying how bad it is, and they're going to talk about it for a half hour, right? I don't want to watch the Pro Bowl, blah, blah, blah. And then they're just going to complain about it, but then they're going to talk about it for a half hour or so.
The Pro Bowl is a joke, Mac. I hate to say it, but it does count for something as far as the player's legacy went. When Jim Jeffcoat used to do the podcast with us, the great defensive end on the Cowboys, he never made a Pro Bowl team in his whole career because it was harder to make at the time. And that influences people that vote for the Hall of Fame. They see
yes.
How many Pro Bowls has someone made. Drake May made the Pro Bowl this year. Drake May. And Drake May didn't even have a good rookie year. I mean, don't tell me that he showed some promise. I mean, he didn't do anything substantial at all. He played like a rookie. He made his rookie mistakes. He showed some potential. He's the Patriot quarterback of the future. We're not arguing that point, how good we think he could be down the line. But this year, he was a flat-out average rookie, making the rookie mistakes. He wasn't Jaden Daniels this year. I mean, what are we going to do? Put Michael Penix in the Pro Bowl if Drake May gets injured now? It's a joke. I mean, if J.J. McCarthy suited up for a couple of games, why not throw him and make him a Pro Bowler? Drake May, the whole thing is it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Some of these selections.
I agree with you. The Baltimore Ravens third string quarterback, I forget his name, who's now backup for Miami.
Right. Yeah. He made it. He made it. Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Tyler Huntley.
Huntley.
Yes.
But what? I mean, and Drake May's an even bigger joke than that. At least Tyler Huntley played. He didn't play well, but at least he played more. You know, Drake May only had played part the season, and he was very average during that time.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I want to get this out of the way because it's a sad story. You know, as a kid, I did a lot of stupid things. I think we all did, Jack, right? I mean, I hanged off balconies and jumped off house tops. And when I was about 13, 10, you know, whatever, I did stupid things. I have never, and I'm a huge Giant fan, I have never climbed a pole or burnt up a town or set a car on fire because the Giants won or because they lost. I have never even, that has never crossed my mind. And, you know, this young 18-year-old Tyler Sabapathy, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, passed away with a severe brain injury after he fell off a pole. And it seems like, Jack, it's always has something to do with Philadelphia. I hate to brand the Philadelphia Eagle fans. I really do. But it always seems like it comes back to Philadelphia. And, I mean, the kid's just starting his life, and here he goes acting a fool. Maybe he was drinking. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. But it's just it's ridiculous. And, you know, my heart goes out to his parents and any family he has. So that's that. Jerry Jones, again, proves he's the only star in Dallas. He introduces his new head coach, Schottenheimer, in a press conference. And while Schottenheimer's sitting next to him, he says, I'm taking a big chance, hiring a coach that's never been a head coach before. It's a shock. It's a shocky shock, I think he said. What's what he said. If I'm the head coach there, I get up, I leave the room. What are you saying, man? Why are you talking like that when you're supposed to be introducing me as your new head coach? I'm the one taking over the team. I mean, it'd be nice to back me a little bit.
Well, why criticize Jerry Jones for telling the truth? He's telling the truth. He's taking a big chance because his fan base wanted him to get a big name. In reality, he's really not taking a big chance. Brian Schottenheimer is a very experienced NFL coach. Rex Ryan went on ESPN, and he was raving about Brian Schottenheimer being hired. And Brian Schottenheimer was Rex Ryan's offensive coordinator when Rex Ryan was the coach of the Jets. And Rex Ryan said, no, Brian Schottenheimer didn't work under me. He worked with me. It was a partnership. And Rex Ryan will even say, I learned a lot from Brian Schottenheimer. He's a darn good football man. Jerry Jones is a good owner for someone to lean on for a coach like Brian Schottenheimer. In this sense, if there's a discipline problem, Brian Schottenheimer could call up Jerry Jones and say, look, this player's pushing back doing this. I mean, I can handle it, but I thought maybe you would want to intervene and talk to the player. This is where Jerry Jones could have a lot of value because Jerry Jones is a big presence. And if a player sees Jerry Jones, it gets their attention. We agree on that, right? They come into Jerry Jones's office, all of a sudden, they're put on guard in a certain way. I don't think he did anything, so out of the box getting Brian Schottenheimer. They wanted the big name hire. If he hired, let's say, hypothetically, if he hired Jason Witten, Jason Witten at this point is less qualified than Brian Schottenheimer. And who, if he hired Brian Flores has baggage coming, with him. Who else would really be out there? He could call it Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, the Bills. But, some of these high-profile coordinators, Mac, they do want to pick and choose the job they can get, like a Ben Johnson. He could have been an NFL head coach the last few years. He was waiting for the right situation. I can't say Dallas is the right situation, but I will say this. If you look at Jerry Jones's history, he doesn't have a quick finger on firing coaches. So in a certain sense, that's good. He stuck with Jason Garrett for 8-9 years. Mike McCarthy could have come back, but Mike McCarthy didn't want to negotiate this year because Mike McCarthy could sense that Jerry Jones wanted to use him as a bridge coach this year, and he didn't like that. That wasn't acceptable to him. But what's so bad about Brian Schottenheimer to hire him? I don't get it.
There's nothing bad about it. It's what he said. The Jets introduced Aaron Glenn. I didn't hear the Jets owner come out and say, well, Aaron Glenn hasn't ever been a head coach, and we're taking a chance on him. It just doesn't look right, Jack.
One guy could get. Let me answer that, Mac. Aaron Glenn had his pick of several jobs. Maybe not, at least another job. At least a New Orleans Saints head coaching job. The Jets had to move quick to sign Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn was a hot coaching candidate, and let's be honest about it. Brian Schottenheimer, at least this year on the foreseeable future, wasn't going to get a head coaching job. Okay,
I mean,
just wasn't going to happen.
I could go down the list. The Bears didn't do that. I didn't.
But Ben Johnson,
I didn't see. He's not a head coach. He's never been a head coach, Jack. I could go through almost every team. I think every team besides the Cowboys who hired a new head coach who didn't say that.
It's a
Jerry Jones to me wants the spotlight constantly. And I'm telling you, if I'm freaking Schottenheimer, I get up and leave. I say, listen, man, you're making me sound bad. You're making me look bad. What do you mean you're taking a chance? Of course
whoa, Mac.
You're taking a chance.
Mac, you're so idealistic. If Brian Schottenheimer got up and left, he's never going to have a head coaching job in the NFL again. He is doing cartwheels that Jerry Jones gave him this job. And I'm going to go a step further. For Brian Schottenheimer to get this job, if one of the requirements was at the end of the day, dust off Jerry Jones's desk, Brian Schottenheimer should do it with a smile on his face because no one wants to give Brian Schottenheimer that job.
For some reason, you love Jerry Jones. For some reason, you think he's the greatest.
No, I'm fair.
Every time I bring up or somebody brings up Jerry Jones, you always defend him. I'm not saying Schottenheimer should leave, not coach the Cowboys. I would have left the conference. I said, listen, man, you're taking a shot. Every team takes a shot when they hire a new head coach. Don't sit there with that smirk on your face.
No.
And go ahead.
Mac, they're different categories of hiring guys. Some first-time coaching candidates are very hot candidates that multiple teams want them. They can get a job. They can pick and choose. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, the line coordinators, they were able to pick and choose where they wanted to coach. Aaron Glenn's the coach of the Jets because he wanted to be. He had a say in the matter. It's not just the Jets wanted him. He wanted the Jets. He could have gone elsewhere. Ben Johnson's the coach of the Bears because he wanted to coach the Bears. Brian Schottenheimer, it's either become the coach of the Cowboys or you're not a head coach anywhere. You're not a head coach anywhere. And he might not even be an offensive coordinator anywhere. We don't know, whether he would even get that job. He might wind up being a quarterback coach somewhere. Believe me, he's lucky he got a job from the Cowboys.
You notice Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson didn't want the Cowboys job because they sure the hell didn't go interview. They didn't go over there and say, I want to coach Cowboys.
But who says they wouldn't have taken the Jet job was better for Aaron Glenn because he has a pedigree with the Jets. He's a former Jet.
He played for him. He played for him.
It's the place he wanted to coach. The same thing with a Jason Witten. Jason Witten, if he picked the Cowboys, we couldn't say, oh, no, he didn't want to coach the Jets. Of course he wouldn't want to coach the Jets if he could coach the Cowboys, Jason Witten, because he has a Cowboy pedigree. Ben Johnson, obviously he'd want to coach the Bears over the Cowboys. The Bears have more upside going forward. It's a better job for Ben Johnson. He'll have more control.
Deion Sanders didn't want to coach the Cowboys. There's a lot of coaches that didn't want to coach the Cowboys because of Jerry Jones.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh my God, dude! I'm telling you. For some reason, you love Jerry Jones, and you don't care what he does or says. You don't care that he takes the air out of the room. You don't care that he criticizes the Cowboys. You don't care he builds them up when they stink. You don't care about any of that. No, you think Jerry Jones is great. So I mean, it's a losing.
Mark, you want to blame Jerry Jones?
I'm honest, Jack. I'm honest.
That goes wrong here. And to say that Deion Sanders didn't want to coach the Cowboys because of Jerry Jones, that's beyond being absurd.
How do you know?
Sanders is a coach of Colorado. He has a great job there. He's been to Colorado only a couple of years. Why on earth would he want to leave Colorado for the Cowboys unless his sons were playing for the Cowboys? That would be the only reason. There's no reason for Deion Sanders to leave Colorado.
I'm telling you, Jerry Jones rubs coaches the wrong way. He needs a yes man. He needs somebody that says, yes, sir, clean his desk, whatever you said, go clean his yacht. That's what he wants there. And that's the Dallas Cowboys will never win as long as Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. They'll never go to another Super Bowl.
Wait. The 3 years before this one, they went 12-5 each year. You don't call that winning.
They will never win another Super Bowl.
In the playoffs, 12-5.
They will never win another Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is the owner. Guaranteed.
Well, it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. I could point out these other coaches. I could point out Sean McDermott, the Buffalo Bill coach. I'm going to say, let's fire him. The Bills are never going to win a Super Bowl with Sean McDermott.
I'm not talking about coaches. I'm talking about the owner, Jack. I'm talking about Jerry Jones. They will never go to another Super Bowl as long as he's the owner. Tell me.
It's hard to get to a Super Bowl. It's very hard to get there. All you can do is put yourself in position to get there. And then hope he
didn't get free agents. He didn't go after many free agents during the offseason. His drafting hasn't been that great lately. I don't get it.
Last season, I agree, he did a poor job as the GM/coach in the last year. I'm going to give you that much. He didn't make the moves. He had an opportunity to sign Derrick Henry. He passed on that. You know, I guess he was caught up in the contract situations of Dak Prescott, C.D. Lamb, and now Micah Parsons, and wanting to get those contracts out of the way, even though Micah Parsons hasn't been settled yet.
Yes. So this is interesting, and this is good for, I think it's good for sports talk radio and podcasting. A bunch of NFL quarterback free agents matchmaking. This is from CBS writer Cody Benjamin. So we know that Sam Darnold played for Aaron Glenn in Minnesota. He's saying Sam Darnold's younger than Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Glenn was with Detroit.
Well, he played. I know they have some kind of connection. Sam Darnold and Aaron Glenn. So I don't know. That's what he says. So anyway, was it with the Jets
or whatever? Maybe they crossed paths somewhere. I can't say for sure, but there can't be an impactful connection.
So what do you think about Sam Darnold, younger than Aaron Rodgers, had a great year last year in the regular season, What do you think about him coming back to the Jets as your quarterback? Yeah.
Mixed feelings on it. I can't say I'm crazy about it. The thing with Sam Darnold, you can't forget he was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. And Sam Darnold's been in the league for 7 years. Do you feel there's room for a lot of improvement still, even though he's been in the league 7 years? If you feel there's room for a lot of improvement, yeah, the potential is there. He did win 14 games as the Viking quarterback last year. That was tremendous. And I know the story you're referring to, Mac, and it made a good point, that story. If J.J. McCarthy had been the Viking quarterback this year and he did the same exact thing Sam Darnold did, win 14 games, but was awful in the last 2 games, you would be very optimistic bringing back J.J. McCarthy based on what he did during the, the regular season, save for the last game. I'm not crazy about the Sam Darnold thing. Not for the money you're going to have to pay him. It reminds me a little bit of Neil O'Donnell when he took the Steelers to the Super Bowl and the Jets signed him as a free agent.
I remember.
And that didn't work out at all. It kind of has a little bit of that feel. I also recall when Sam Darnold left the Jets, it wasn't obvious that the Jets should move on from him. And the reason the Jets moved on from him, Matt, because they had the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And the thought was, they're never going to get to draft that high again. They could draft one of the elite college quarterbacks. It was the same situation the Bears had with Justin Fields a year ago. They would have stuck with Justin Fields, except they were in a position to draft Caleb Williams. So the Jets, draft Zach Wilson. It didn't work out, because they put too much emphasis on the combines, which I hate, because Zach Wilson showed he could throw the ball across his body while he was on the run. Oh, good gosh. So they were impressed with his athletic ability, and the stupid combines were the reason they picked him. Combines are good for the 3rd day picks, 5th round, 6th round.
Sure.
They're great for that, but not for the early round. That they should have game film and scouts.
Yeah.
But it wasn't clear-cut, Mac, that they should move on from Sam Darnold, but they did. And now to bring him back, I don't know. I don't get the greatest feel for that. I really don't. I would sooner roll with a guy like a Justin Fields and hope he develops. Justin Fields, his upside can only go so far. That's the problem with Justin Fields. Justin Fields could maybe do for the Jets what a Geno Smith is done for the Seattle Seahawks, which, is good, is good. But he's not going to be, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And Sam Darnold, I don't know, Mac. Mixed feelings. This is one of those situations you got to be in the room with the other coaches. You talk the pros, the cons. The problem with Aaron Rodgers, how long is he going to play? Aaron Glenn and their new GM are going to have a heart-to-heart talk with Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers says, I'm committed to playing indefinitely, it's something to think about. But I don't like, Mac, when people point to Aaron Rodgers' stats and say, he has a lot left. Compare his regular season stats to Patrick Mahomes, and they're similar. Patrick Mahomes is a finisher. Aaron Rodgers is no longer a finisher. He doesn't finish drives. He'll move the ball up and down the field, but it's always going to result in either they turn it over on downs or they have to kick a field goal.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Jack.
Sorry, I was a little long-winded on that. I was trying to get in my own head,
That's all right. Justin Fields, you were just talking about, he has him going back to Pittsburgh as he was 4-2 as a starter. And Russell Wilson going to the New York Giants. Please no.
Yeah, listen, Mac, Russell Wilson, I could see him going to the Giants in this sense. Joe Shine and Brian DeBall have to win now, I would think. Okay? We expected them to get fired. Even reportedly, the Giant players are surprised Brian Daboll is back. Not that they wanted him out, because reportedly he's a player's coach, so they liked him, but they didn't expect him to be back. Yet he's back as the coach again. The Giants can't afford another year the way they had last year. Otherwise, the coach and GM are out. Russell Wilson gives them a better chance to be respectable, to get up to 8-9, 9-8, than they would perhaps, if they got a rookie quarterback, but in a Cam Ward. So what you might see the Giants do, maybe they do sign Russell Wilson, and with the 3rd overall pick, they take Travis Hunter or the great, defensive end from Penn State, Abdul Carter. Either one of the two would be great.
Yeah.
And it would improve their team at the quarterback position. And obviously they'd get an impact position player, probably a corner with Hunter who could play a little wide receiver. And Abdul Carter would be a monster, at defensive end.
I agree. Let's see. He has Cousins going to Cleveland with the Stefanowski connection at Minnesota. Can you see Kirk Cousins going to Cleveland?
Anything's possible. I think it's pathetic if Cleveland does it. They may as well run it back with Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson, you heard his Achilles the 2nd time in a row. Will he be ready? Yeah. I mean, Kirk Cousins has nothing left in the tank. I mean, this isn't to say you can't play a good game once in a while. But this is the equivalent of teams, them wanting to catch lightning in a bottle the way they did with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was far past his prime, but when he played with Cleveland the 1 year, he played well. He played well. It wasn't going to last. He imploded in the playoffs, that year. You can take a chance with Kirk Cousins, but I mean, it doesn't make sense because Cleveland, Mac, they're going number 2 overall in the draft. For them to get Kirk Cousins, it would have to be for him to be a bridge quarterback for either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, whoever they might draft. Unless they don't like Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. There's a danger with these teams that need a quarterback badly. Do not draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders unless you believe that's your quarterback in the future. Don't take them because they're the best available quarterbacks. You're better off not drafting a quarterback. Take the best available player. Now, if you believe in the quarterback that you're drafting, but another player, a non-quarterback, you think is going to have a little more of an impact, I can understand you still draft the quarterback if you think he's going to be successful. That's the only position you draft according to need, I feel, the quarterback position, but it's got to be within reason.
Yes. I think Cousins would be okay in Cleveland. Atlanta had a lot of weapons, and Penix Jr. went in there and lit it up. I mean, I
he didn't light it up, Mac. Like Penix didn't light it up.
For a rookie not playing all year, Jack, just jumped through him in there. I think he played really well.
Penix was okay. But the jury's still out. We know how good Penix is going to be. He did okay in the stint. He didn't do badly. Kirk Cousins was awful. The last few games when they benched him. They didn't want to bench Kirk Cousins the first year. That's the last thing they wanted to do. But the Falcons were still in playoff contention. And imagine that. They benched Cousins when they were in playoff contention and they went to Penix. That was not the plan.
Not at all. Not at all. Daniel Jones to the Rams with Stafford's possible retirement, giving the Rams head coach another young quarterback to work with. I don't know about that. Do you think the Rams would actually take Daniel Jones yet?
I mean, we don't know if Stafford's going to retire. It seems like Stafford wants a new contract and he'll come back. And let's say Stafford isn't coming back to the Rams. They don't want to give him a big contract. And let's say he does decide hypothetically to retire. Daniel Jones to the Rams for what? What are they hoping to get out of it? Are they hoping to get lucky with Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones can play pretty well at times, Mac. I don't have to tell you. But so can a guy like Derek Carr. Is he really an answer? I mean, Daniel Jones, in all the years he was a Giant quarterback, why didn't it work out? I mean, he had one good year out of what, 6? I mean, you could say he was injured. The team wasn't that well. The Rams are a better team. They have a better running game. They have better coaching. I get all that. This isn't to say that Daniel Jones can't be a competent NFL quarterback. I think he can be, but it's kind of real risk there. I mean, if you're counting on Daniel Jones to be the guy, it's a real risk. I could see Daniel Jones starting next season as the Viking quarterback, because I have a feeling someone, and I'm sure, is going to sign Sam Darnold, maybe the Raiders, a team like that. And Daniel Jones will be the bridge quarterback for J.J. McCarthy. When J.J. McCarthy's ready during the season, they move to J.J. McCarthy. And if Daniel Jones is playing really well, they'll stick with him, at least next season. So,
as you know, I scour Facebook, I scour Instagram, I go all over looking for stories and stuff and interesting things. I watched the Chiefs Buffalo game like everybody did. I watched it. I watched the replays. I watched different things. But there are a couple angles. You remember the 4th and short where Buffalo didn't get it. One referee said he did, had the first down. The other one said no. So I looked at the overhead cam that they showed yesterday. He didn't get it yet. He didn't get the first down. And they showed the other referee's view that called him short. From what he saw, he didn't get it. So I go off the overhead cam. He was like a foot short, 2 feet short. So these fans, and it seems like all NFL fans are getting this way. If their team loses, they don't say, well, Kansas City beat us. They were the better team, which they were. They were the better team against Buffalo. That's why they won. They didn't win because he didn't make it a 4th and inches. That was one play. So, what it reminds me of, Jack? I don't know if you ever went to you played Little League. It reminds me of a bunch of parrots sitting behind the fence yelling at the umpires. That's what it reminds me of now. I mean, let these guys go up and ref. You go up there and make these calls when it's, you got super slow motion on the video, and you can say, wow, he should have. Bang, bang, make the call. Even though they use video, it's got to be that the call has got to be evidence to overturn it.
I once saw in one of these youth games, one of the officials just basically quit the game. He was getting harassed by the parents, volunteer, what I need this nonsense for? And he just left. Good for him. Good for him. And their thing was, you're abandoning the kids. Why did some of these parents should keep their mouth shut. Who's a pain in the butt who I was thinking of the other day? Bill Cowher. I saw an interview once where Bill Cowher would see his daughter's game. He'd be yelling at the officials and this and that. And because he's was a high profile coach with the Steelers at the time, no one will call him out. I basically, tried to get him removed if I could.
Yeah.
I mean, who the heck is he to start getting on officials? But when I've coached, the high school level, I've seen parents in the stands getting on the umpires. I don't like it, don't like it at all, Mac. But this is a higher level. The fans are going to complain and this and that. The only thing I'll say, ball placement by the officials is very tricky. It's a matter of opinion. Frank Gifford always contended in that famous game against the Baltimore Colts that was the game that ushered in the greatness of the NFL in 1959, the most famous game. It was on television where the Colts won in overtime. They had to punt the ball because the official didn't place the ball where it should have when Gifford had it. Gifford said he got the first down, but the officials placed it like a foot or two back. And as a result of that, the Giants punted and Unitas took the Colts down, all the way down the field for the tying field goal. And then the Colts won in overtime. So I always kind of wonder the placement of the ball. It's tricky a lot of the time.
I agree. I was at a little league game, and these guys got paid. Not a lot. They got paid. When they left the game, there were some parents that met them in a parking lot. It's almost a fight. Are you kidding me, man? You're gonna fight the umpires because they're calling a game for you? If they weren't there, there'd be no game. It blows my mind. I don't get it, but
I'd like to see some of the parents that are giving hard times, so on, that they can't get any volunteers to umpire, referee, officiate, and the games can't get played. Explain it to the kids. The kids a lot of times aren't the problem. The kids will be thinking, darn, we can't play because of these stupid parents and this and that.
Yeah.
I mean, or let me go a step further, Mac. Maybe a rule should be put in place if there are any problems in any districts. No spectators allowed, strictly players. It's, they can't show up to the game. The kids could play the game, but not in front of anyone at all.
I mean, I don't know if that's the answer, but I definitely should have some. If I was having a day of games, because normally at one field there's a bunch of games, I definitely have some cops there. I'd have some police there, because I mean, you're gonna that was ridiculous. Anyway, Michael Vick, we haven't talked about this yet, Jack. He's the head coach of Norfolk State. Do you think this is like a Deion Sanders thing where he's going to go there? He's a former NFL player. He's not as good at his position as Deion was, no doubt, but he was looked up to a lot, and for us on-field stuff, a little off-field issues, but whatever. For his play on the field, was at the time the greatest rushing quarterback there was. So what do you think? Do you think this could work out for Michael Vick at Norfolk State?
Yeah, it could. I mean, the idea we're mentioning the name Norfolk State, who'd be mentioning Norfolk State? But because of Michael Vick, it gets our attention. The same thing happened with Deion Sanders. He started at Jackson State.
Yes.
And you might ask, is this good for Jackson State? It was great because it put Jackson State on the map. And who cares about Jackson State now as far as national news goes? But when Deion was the head coach, they were national news because of Deion. Colorado, Deion's done a phenomenal job as a coach, not as a personality, as a coach. I mean, look what he's done for that program. Yeah, I mean, Michael Vick might do the same thing, where he's at now. And, I mean, what does the university have to lose?
That's the truth. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see anything about figures about who they're, what they're paying him or anything like that. But man, I mean, as you said, I'd never heard of Norfolk State. I might have heard it in passing, but it's never been a big thing.
And Michael Vick, you mentioned not to play at Deion Sanders, was different positions. Deion Sanders, in my opinion, was the greatest cover man in the history of the NFL. In my opinion, he didn't like tackling, but for strict coverage, he was the ultimate shutdown corner. He was better than Darrelle Revis. Let me say that. And I'm a Jet fan, and I'll tell you, it's better than Darrelle Revis. It's better than anyone, But Michael Vick was one of the more charismatic quarterbacks, and at Michael Vick's best, he was, an outstanding quarterback, with the Falcons and the Eagles. And if Michael Vick were playing today, believe me, he would be drafted immediately with the number one pick if he were coming out of college. He'd be the number one pick in the draft and be a successful NFL quarterback.
So we'll switch to the NBA here. Jimmy Butler is suspended indefinitely as he walks out of practice. He finds out he's not starting. It does look like they want to get rid of him. In fact, Miami has lowered the price for him because there's no takers yet. I don't know. I think Jimmy Butler's hurting himself. I mean, I get you want to get out, and I get But all these things that you're doing, walking out of practice, not going to the bus, doing it. I mean, it makes you look bad. I mean, what team wants that headache?
Yeah, but players can reinvent themselves later on, and maybe get the money. Because look at Kyrie Irving. He really hurt his marketability, but he went to Dallas. He behaved himself. He's been a good citizen at Dallas. You don't hear about him being in the news and all, nothing negative. He's strictly a ball player now, and he got a good contract. And if he left Dallas, another team would give him a big contract because they trust him now. It could be the same with Jimmy Butler because you have a number of teams, Mac, in the NBA because there's such parity. And there's so many good teams. They just need that one missing piece to get over the top. And at least one of them is going to look at Jimmy Butler as being the missing piece. I mean, teams like the Toronto Raptors and the Washington Wizards, they're not going to be interested in Jimmy Butler. They're not winning any NBA title. But, there could be a team you don't know, like the Houston Rockets, who might want to take a chance on them. Maybe the LA Clippers, I'm just throwing.
Yeah.
I think that just a little bump more. The Philadelphia 76ers. And Jimmy Butler can still be a difference maker. A difference maker if he goes elsewhere. But Jimmy Butler's not doing himself any favors. As far as getting the type of contract he wants, he's not doing himself any favors. I think Jimmy Butler, there was discontent in the beginning, how this all got started. He didn't like some minutes being taken away from him by Eric Spoelstra. So he started messing around, and we've seen this act with Jimmy Butler before, Mac. When he was with the Timberwolves, he kept showing up late to practice. Jimmy Butler think if I act a certain way and I tick the team off, they're going to trade me. I'm going to force a trade. And he is going to force a trade, but it's not going to be on his terms. In the past, he's forced trades on his terms. Now this trade's going to be forced on the Miami Heat, terms, because the Heat aren't putting up with this nonsense. And good for the Miami Heat, dealing with the Jimmy Butler situation the way they are. What's with this in Miami with Tyreek Hill? He quit on his teammates and all, and now
did you see that?
Yeah.
But I mean, what do you do if you're the Dolphins, Jack? I mean, Jimmy Butler. Let's put that to bed. I heard Golden State was interested. I don't know why they would want Jimmy Butler. That's another older guy. That's a veteran, and I don't know. But what do you do with Tyreek Hill? I mean, the dude's awesome. He's I know that Tua was hurt for a lot of the year, so he didn't get his numbers. I mean, what do you do with him now?
It's easy to say get rid of a Mac, but sometimes it's better to keep a guy, okay, in certain situations. Because if you trade Tyreek Hill, logically, what can you get for him? A team might give a third-round draft choice for him, where you could get a decent college player, but not as good as Tyreek Hill. And sometimes you're better just straightening it out with the player, having Tua call him. Tua's going to be back. And, what I think has to bother Tyreek Hill from no end? He could have been a member of the Kansas City Chiefs this year. He was with them for one Super Bowl victory, and he hasn't been there for the rest of the time. They showed they could win without him.
Yeah.
Okay? And some of these deals that players force, they're better just staying where they're staying. And, but with Tyreek Hill, can all be forgiven with the Dolphins. You quit on your team like that, you have to think inside the locker room. That the other players, do they want the Dolphins to move on from Tyreek Hill? I would kind of feel move on from Tyreek Hill if you can get some value in return. If there's no market on Tyreek Hill at all, and you have to pay him anyway, you may as well just keep him.
Two more NFL things at least here. The MVP odds are in, Jack. Patrick Mahomes is number one. Saquon Barkley is number 2. Jalen Hurts is number 3.
For the Super Bowl game, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
MVP for the Super Bowl. Can a running back do it? It's been a long, long time since a running back has been the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, those are the quarterbacks are the obvious choices usually if someone's going to win the MVP. I mean, if you look at the Chiefs, you know, who might get it? I'm still a little annoyed when the Rams beat the Bengals and they gave it to Cooper Kupp because statistically he made the catches. It was Aaron Donald who should have gotten the MVP. That bothers me, and you know, to have to bother Aaron Donald because whenever they bring back the Super Bowl MVPs, he was the guy. He was the best player on the field. I mean, and I've mentioned this in the past, even with the Jets, with Joe Namath getting the MVP. It was really Matt Snell that should have gotten the MVP for the Jets. But I guess but it's obvious between Mahomes, Hurts, Barkley, one of them probably gets the MVP. But once in a while, you never know. A player could have a breakout game. What happens if Chris Jones gets 4 sacks?
Yeah.
You know, they might look towards him. So he could be an outside chance for the MVP. But the Eagles have a really good offensive line. So I don't know.
I remember the last time Dallas won the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh was a cornerback. I think he had like 3 interceptions, returned 1 for a touchdown. I think that was the last time a non-quarterback got it, if I'm not mistaken. I know O.J. Anderson got it too.
Well, no, non-quarterbacks have gotten it. I just can't recall. Or, it's one of these things that doesn't stay in my memory most of the years, like who got the MVP. Like even a couple of years ago, the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I don't remember who got the MVP. I'd say Patrick Mahomes because the Chiefs won the game. He was the quarterback, but I don't remember for sure. It's not one of those things. It's not one of those things I think that mean a lot to the fans when the game is over, but it obviously has to mean a lot to the players.
I agree with that too. So flip real quick back to the NBA. Embiid. Now I know he's taken some games off, Jack, but I didn't realize he took this many games off. And he's played 466 games, and he's missed 400. So he's only played 46 more games than he's missed, and he's making $266 million for all that.
Yeah, I don't know how much is legitimate and how his motivation, figures into this. I just don't know. The NBA season is a grind. It is. It's a long season, even though we're saying, well, there shouldn't be load management, this and that. Players do get tired. There's travel. There's fatigue. There's the injury factor. But I just think this whole Embiid thing with Philadelphia, they have 2 choices, build around Embiid or move on from Embiid. I kind of feel the time is good to get a big package, move on from Embiid, and they're not going to win an NBA championship with Embiid, and Maxey the way things are now. I can't see a player falling into their lap, an additional player. That Paul George, that's their big 3, but they're just another good team. I don't even consider them a serious threat in the East compared to some of the other teams.
I mean, can you even get a package for Embiid anymore? I mean, with his injury history and I mean, he's not the player he was when he first came in, that's for sure. And not many are.
I don't know. If a team that's looking to really get over the top maybe could put a package together for him. But which team is, within range? I mean, could a team like the Phoenix Suns, who have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, would they put together a bunch of draft picks and they have other players besides their big 3? And now they get Embiid and they could have a big 4 and they could take a serious run at the NBA championship. I'm just throwing a name, out there. Can the Golden State Warriors, would they trade a few number 1 draft picks and Andrew Wiggins on top of that to the Sixers? You know, we don't know, but there's a good chance there's one team out there that's chomping at the bit. They're thinking, if they can get Embiid, what a difference that'll make. Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks could put a package together, get Embiid with Giannis and Damian Lillard, and maybe they have a bunch of picks or whatever. I'm not sure what draft capital, you know, some of these teams have, how much they might be willing to give up. But if you're talking in terms where they would give up 5 number 1 draft picks scattered over the years, and there are a couple of other young players that could be useful on top of that, you know, it's something, you know, to explore.
So Anthony Davis gets hurt last night in the Lakers game, and Bronny James gets to go in again. Jack, I didn't see it. I didn't see the highlights of this game that you told me before the show. What do you do with Bronny James? I mean, I know it's his first year. I know they've been kind of going back and forth between the G League and the Lakers. Does he get better? I mean, is he going to be what they thought he was going to be?
Well, you know, he was playing okay in the G League from everything I hear, and they kind of rushed him into play against the Sixers. It wasn't like a token to play him. They really needed him. And even Bronny James said, I was a little shocked the Lakers called me up. You know, they had an injury. They called him up. They put him to guard Tyrese Maxey, one of the really good players. And Tyrese Maxey basically destroyed him. He was in over his head. Later, J.J. Redick is saying, oh, it's my fault. He wasn't ready. Didn't put him in a good spot. You know, I believe he went something like 0 for 5 from the field. He turned the ball over 3 times in 15 minutes. And he was given meaningful minutes. It was just a terrible performance. And, you know, Bronny James might be a good player in time. He might, but he's got to, you know, he got to keep playing in the G League. He should have been playing college ball this year. I mean, what were they thinking? Just so LeBron could live his dream of playing with his son. And LeBron's in reality isn't playing with his son. His son had a cup of coffee with him on the court. That's basically what it is. That's why, Mac, I was thinking the other day, sports records, they have to have asterisks put next to them. For example, you could bring a baseball player, out of 8 years of retirement and let him get up one time and say he's played for 5 decades. That makes a mockery of records. It makes a complete joke out of records, okay? And so there's got to be kind of asterisks in this. And LeBron, you know, LeBron's a good parent. He wants what's best for his son. But LeBron, in a sense, was living his dream. I don't want to say through his son, but his dream was to be on the court with his son, play together. And at what price? That's what I ask. And LeBron's a good parent who thought he was doing the right thing. I'm not questioning that at all. But how has this served Bronny? You know, this year being the Lakers.
He, you know, when now again, I don't know if this is true or not, but he seems unaffected by it. His mom thinks she's great. So I'm not sure how this is affecting Bronny at all. I know LeBron has another child coming in.
Yeah.
And he's talking about staying around for him, and he's supposed to be better than Bronny.
Yeah, but, you know, maybe this isn't affecting Bronny. Maybe Bronny's handling it really well. You know, part of it could have been if Bronny stayed one more year in college and he played really well, another team could have drafted him. Yeah. It could have happened. You know, these teams didn't have to let him go to the Lakers. And Bronny James's reps, LeBron's reps said, well, then he's going to play in another league. He's not going to play for you if you draft him. He's going to go elsewhere. Now, he won't be in the NBA that year. So the other teams knew, stay out of Bronny's path. Don't draft him. Not that they wanted to. He wasn't a hot prospect. You know, he went in the second round. this year. But if Brownie went to college, he really played well, they take him. You know, and a team can jump up and take a player. You know, I just got done reading a book that was written by Bill Madden on Tom Seaver. And in 1984, the New York Mets exposed Tom Seaver to the expansion draft. Meaning, you know, they had to, at that time, they had an expansion draft. Seaver had a second go round with the Mets, and they didn't protect him. Yeah, meaning another team could have drafted Seaver. And the Mets thought, no one's going to draft Seaver. He's our guy. Everyone knows he's a Met. He's staying with us. You know, he wasn't vintage Tom Seaver at that point. He was still okay. And the White Sox saw Seaver was left exposed in the draft, and they grabbed him.
Yeah.
And much to the Mets' chagrin. A team could have done that with Brownie if he stayed in college another year. You know, and they could have done it because they would have thought Brownie would really help him.
It's possible. I don't think anybody would have took him but the Lakers. I think the Lakers would have done whatever they had to do.
Well, no, if he had a good year in college, he played an extra year. That's if he had a really good collegiate year, and that's why he should have played. I mean, but listen, it's what it is, and. Let me throw this at you, Mac. If LeBron James was no longer Laker, he retired. You think the Lakers would keep Bronny around?
Not at all. Not at all. Unless he was part of the organization. And maybe, you know, in upper management or something, maybe they would.
Yeah.
But other than that, no way. Folks, we're at the top of the hour. We'll be back on Friday with Keith Angles. We'll talk a little bit more about the college draft and stuff like that, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more news for you. You know, this time of year, folks. I mean, you only can talk so much about dodgeball and the Pro Bowl, and I don't know what they're doing.
Hey, Ben, we could talk a little about baseball. The Dodgers fielding this super team. I mean, they are signing everyone. I just want to. You know, maybe you could save it for the debate show, whatever. But I think the Dodgers are fine what they're doing. I'm not fans are such hypocrites. When the Yankees did it under George Steinbrenner years ago, people would complain the Yankees shouldn't be allowed to do it, this and that. So I don't want to hear Yankee fans complaining now. You could still win on the field. As great as the Dodgers pitching staff is, and it is great, Yankees have heck of a pitching staff themselves. Just beat the Dodgers if you go head to head against them again. You have the pitching to do it.
Sure. I mean, baseball is one of the most, well, football has its moments, hockey and basketball, but one of the most hard games to figure out. Some teams can just jump up and bite you. That doesn't mean they're more talented than you. Sometimes it means it's just the right time, right pitcher, and you know, he has a heck of a game. So we'll see. Folks, again, we'll see you up next, Coffee and Sports. Stay with Roku all day. We'll see you tonight on the Professional Sports Show also about 7 p.m., if I'm not mistaken, 6 p.m.